Today we are going to talk about hip-hop music in the English classroom.
Love won't get you high as this. Drugs won't get you high as this. Fame won't get you high as this. Chains won't get you high as this. Juice won't get you high as this.
So let me set the stage. It's the first day of school. As a teacher, you want to go out, usually want to greet your students. Welcome. Hello, I'm Mr. Richards. Glad you're in my class. What I see there, immediately I'm trying to build a connection, a relationship to my students. Not every student's up for that though, because it is the first day of school. But one thing I do notice, especially when I walk through the halls, is that kids have headphones on. And when I notice that you have headphones on, I'm always curious of what you're listening to. Usually as the odds roll this way, they are listening to hip-hop music. And right there, immediately, we have that connection. And that is the type of culture I want to build in my classroom. You know what? One of the biggest challenges that we have as English teachers is to get our students to read. And I was thinking about this. How are we going to teach our students about the more important issues in the world, like social justice, if they're so hesitant and in some cases afraid to open up a book? We can actually bring hip-hop into the room because they're already listening to the hip-hop music. Now all we have to do is bring the discussion in the classroom and get them to think about some of these more important issues.
Levitate, 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 levitate,
Mic check. You see, I'm a product of the 90s. And with the 90s came the golden age of hip-hop. All that music that I used to listen to back then went in and out of my brain, and I basically was just thinking about these concepts that these artists were bringing up that were so important. So my job, I feel like, in my classroom is to get my students on some of these artists that are actually socially conscious about what's going on in the world today. So if I'm listening to BDP back in the day with Boogie Down, I look at a modern artist, somebody like Kendrick Lamar, who's rapping about some of the similar topics, and I'm bringing that in a room, and I'm getting my students to think about analyzing the lyrics, the beat, the music, talk about it, get excited about it. This is the same music that they might have been listening to earlier in the day, but now they're thinking of it in a new way, of a socially conscious message that can actually impact and make a difference.
I feel like it's appealing to the younger generation, so people listen to hip-hop, and when they talk about the government and laws and things that are not fair, it makes them want to go and study these things, but they wouldn't do it if it was a teacher telling them to do it. But since Kendrick Lamar or Drake or somebody else is telling them they want to do it, so I feel like it has an influence on that part. They hear it in the songs, so they want to go research it. And these days, there's a lot of rappers that have good messages and some of them that have bad. It's more actually good than bad. I mean, they don't always play the good stuff on the radio, but a lot of them, it has a story behind it. And a lot of times, it's about current events that happen during our time, and they explain it and they talk about it. Sometimes they make jokes about it, sometimes they make realism about it. And I mean, it always ends up being, they tie it in so that the younger generation will listen, and they do it in a way that we can comprehend and we'll learn about it more in our way.
It makes me aware of trials and tribulations that people go through that I don't know nothing about, such as back in the day, NWA with the LA riots.
It helps understand about oppression that people go through, in their lyrics, how they lived their life before they were famous and what struggles they had to accomplish. And that ties in with other stuff we learned in English about people trying to find themselves, and how Kendrick Lamar found himself, and how he had to overcome all these challenges when he lived in Compton.
When we need hip-hop in the classroom because we don't normally talk about hip-hop, and we need an outlet to actually speak about it and to talk about it, and when we do talk about it, we actually need to learn what the lyrics are about instead of just listening to it and seeing what oppression is, because a lot of people in the school, we learn about it through our friends, and we learn about it we one side of the story when we could all be listening and all be talking about and hearing different views of it and actually learning about what it's actually about.
So by listening to the Hispanic hip hop and you know, you can, once it gets translated, you learn that women in the Hispanic culture are still under very strict oppression, and we've actually discussed it in the classroom. And so by listening to the Hispanic hip hop music, you understand more about their culture and about how women are still under oppression in the Hispanic culture.
The reason I brought in changes for my project is because like I was viewing the music from like back then, because I think now music's probably the most influential thing in the world. So like instead of like telling how like drugs and all that stuff is like cool, Tupac, he went in and talked about like poverty within like the black community and all that, like the issues within it. And he talked about like how they're getting thrown in jail and incarcerated for stupid things that like white people get away with. Like the government needs to get the issues at hand, like right. We need to stop focusing on the little things, focus on like the big picture with what's wrong in the world instead of the little things.
So what did we learn today? When I'm in the classroom and I'm utilizing and bringing hip hop into my classroom to teach my students, I want my students to be able to think critically about the issues that are going on every day that surround them and how they relate to them. And not only that, how the people that they're around and that are in their classroom that might not be exactly like them relate to these issues, and to embrace this music, but realize it's not just for the beat, it's for actually listening to the actual message. So buy that Kendrick Lamar record, take it home. What is he really saying? Think about it, process that information, and then that will make you a critical thinker in the end. And that's what it's all about. That's what we should be doing, asking questions, thinking critically about the things that we basically consume every day. J. Rich out.